Are you ready to explore the ghastly and perilous world of Scotland's most notorious street gangs? Do you want to learn the truth about their infamous reputation over decades and gain knowledge as to how they really operate? Have you ever pondered the motivations behind these gangs' heinous acts of violence? If these questions send chills through your spines, then come along on a journey with us that will take you into the heart of these criminal organizations and explore their devastating impact on their communities. So buckle up, because the shocking truth about Scotland's most notorious street gangs will leave you on the edge of your seat. Here we begin. An overview of the gangs, Lyons and Daniels. It was one of the most brutal and intensely personal gangland feuds, and its effects are still felt today. To act for business and not pleasure is one of the gangster maxims they assert to uphold. In reality, it is rare to distinguish between the two. This is the case in the protracted conflict between two Glasgow crime family networks, the Lyons and the Daniels, which has included everything like shootings, knife attacks, hit-and-run accidents, firebomb attacks, witness intimidation, police corruption, and tons of drugs. Those spoiled brats took away the innocent lives of thousands, and although it dates back more than 20 years, its effects are still felt today. The incredible history of the Lyons and the Daniels. There are two pivotal incidents that best capture the bloody and unforgiving nature of this fight to the death. Listing all of their clashes and conflicts would consume terabytes of data. It is never ending. The first murder occurred at Apple Row Motors, owned by David Lyons, the brother of the clan's leader Eddie Sr., in Lamb Hill at the beginning of December 2006. One witness remarked that it appeared to be a scene from a gangster film, but it was actually taking place in North Glasgow. Two men entered the forecourt while walking around in long black coats, donning masks and brandishing handguns. And like a pro planner, they chalked out the plan so thoroughly that it was over in minutes. Still, when the smoke cleared, Robert Pickett, also known as Piggy, who had just recently been let out of prison for the attempted murder of the Rennie brothers during the Paisley drug wars, was also badly hurt, along with Lyons' nephew Michael, aged 21, and his cousin Stephen. Stuart Gillespie, who killed Mark Rennie, and Willem Basil Burns, also a hard man associated with Paisley and known by the nickname Boom Boom, which was Basil Brush's catchphrase but may have a second meaning, were two more people who had moved from Paisley to the Lyons. 10 days after the shooting, David Lyons had a ransom note delivered to his house just to add color. It said, "The boys owe me £25,000 and I want what's owed to me. It's for drugs. They all know what it's about. The money doesn't matter to me as it's got to be paid to the piper. I don't want the police, the boys, not even your wife to know about it. If you keep them out of this, all your lives can return to normal, as we are all losing money through this. If you have any tricks for my pickup man, all the deals are off. Remember to keep your mouth shut. There are no cameras or surveillance as the pickup man doesn't know anything, so he's no use to you. Drop off, 4 p.m. Saturday. I'll draw you a map and X will mark the spot." Unfortunately, it was truly impossible to concoct. Daniel gang members Raymond Anderson and James MacDonald were the two shooters at Apple Row. When apprehended, they were each given a Scottish record sentence of 35 years, which was later reduced to 30 years on appeal. What was their end? Let's see. Pickett, who had lost a kidney after being shot in the stomach, asserted that the wrong men were being tried during their trial. There was talk that he had been paid to say that. Whatever the case may have been, he was later given a 2-year prison term for contempt of court relating to his testimony. 3 weeks prior, the drive-by shooting of Kevin Gerbil Carroll and his associate Ross Sherlock in Auchnairn, Bishopbriggs, was likely what set off that carnage. Gerbil had already been struck once, almost 3 years prior, outside his mother's Milton home. The Lyons' suspicion that Carroll had damaged Gary Lyons' grave, the son of Eddie Sr., who had died of leukemia in 1991, appears to be the problem. However, the Daniels took it personally when someone they knew was attacked. The Daniels are from Possil, and the Lyons are from Milton, where Kenny Dalglish and Frank McAvaney were born and raised. When Stephen Lyons and his brother Edward Jr. bullied Gerbil in school, it began a long relationship between the Lyons family and Gerbil. Hardly anybody knew it would pay off this way. The sons of Jamie Daniel, Robert and Francis Fraggle Green, with whom he became close friends during this time, were also Jamie Daniel's children. When Carroll grew up and advanced in the criminal world, he oversaw a group of thugs that staged rival dealers' alien abductions, many of whom worked for the Lyons. Carroll was a top lieutenant in the Daniels gang at the time. They were so called because the victims, who were typically discovered wandering around in a semi-undressed state, would claim they had no memory of what had happened. Most people thought Gerbil was an insane person. They were unrepentant. This combination was not ideal and turned out to be false. For having high-velocity ammunition, he received an 18-month sentence in July 2007. The less serious accusation of owning a Heckler & Koch submachine gun was dropped. Most likely, this sentence caused the outcome to be delayed. The resolution, again a very public one, came at the Robroyston Asda supermarket. There is little doubt that Gerbil was set up. A police officer who gave information to the alleged hitman was later imprisoned. He was sitting in the back seat of a black Audi outside the busy store, which was unusual for him, and the child locks were in place, making it impossible for him to exit the vehicle. The two men in the front seat fled as three masked assailants approached the car and shot Carroll 5 times through the windows, and he couldn't escape the place. But one of them dialed Fraggle Green's number, Gerbil's longtime friend and Kelly's brother, who is now Kelly's partner. Fraggle arrived before the police did, took possession of the car's keys, searched Carroll's body, and took Carroll's cell phone, which the police might have found interesting. Years have passed since Gerbil was shot in front of his mother's Milton home on an unlucky Friday, January 13, 2010. A friend of Lyons, Ross Monahan, was accused of the murder, but there was insufficient evidence to support the charges, and it was one of Glasgow's crime war's common occurrences. Suppose there is a root of the original animosity between the two crime families. In that case, it goes back to the summer of 2001, when a sizable amount of Daniel's cocaine was stolen from a Milton residence and sold to the Lyons. This was rather than greed and control of the drug trade. The Lyons had tangible establishment support and immunity for years in addition to immunity. Milton's abandoned Churnside School was given to Eddie Sr. in 1992 for a community project, although the police were already familiar with him. He received government funding 3 years later, at the same time that he was building his criminal empire inside the gang hut. The funding was renewed in 2005 at the recommendation of Jack McConnell's wife, Bridget McConnell, head of culture and recreation for Glasgow Council. And while the range war persisted, it went on for more than a year. A handgun fired 3 shots, striking Ross Sherlock, the friend of the deceased gangster Gerbil, in the arm and hand in September 2016 at St. Helens School in Bishopbriggs. It was just after 3 p.m. and the primary students were filing out to their parents. Picking up his children, he was there. Then a few weeks later, just a few days before Christmas, a man in a Royal Mail delivery outfit knocked on journalist Russell Finley's door and then splashed him in the face with acid. Fortunately, Finley prevailed over the other and sustained no permanent injuries. Caught in the Crossfire, a chillingly if not prophetically named book by Finley about the Lyons-Daniel feud, was also published for the public. For all the assault on both him and Sherlock, William Basil Burns has been heavily charged. All these incidents pointed out their dangerous side loud and clear. So that's it for today's video. What are your thoughts on these criminals and their heinous acts? What punishment do you think they deserve? Do let us know in the comments below, and do not forget to subscribe to the channel for more amazing videos.